What's up out there? So this is basically the final form for my Tectonic Slam Chieftain. It is level 96, and we'll just run a real quick map here. Hopefully it's going to be a quick map. Run this thing, add this on here. What I like about this build is its clear speed, or the ability to clear the entire screen. That's been the best part. It runs Delve very well. It runs Breach, Legion. Now, when I say Breach and Legion, I mean on mapping. I don't mean actually running Breach Stones or anything. I have yet to run a Breach Stone, so I don't know what that's like with this build. I'd imagine it's going to be kind of... the clear part's probably going to be easy. It's going to be the boss part that's going to be difficult. Bossing with this is not great. I did get the Eater down. I fought that fight. I died twice with him, and it wasn't bad otherwise. Exarch, I'm having trouble. I fought the Exarch twice. I couldn't beat him either time. It got a little better on the second time, but the fight was just taking too long. This does not have a tremendous amount of DPS. It's got great clear. Like if we get a big pack of monsters or something on here, it just decimates the screen, and it just goes away. And if you have a boss monsters surrounded by a bunch of little monsters like this thing, sometimes it just gets deleted. Let's see if this breach does anything. So a little bit slow on those things, but it just annihilates everything else. Unfortunately, I wish this was on a more open map. It'd be a lot better to show off. Because you really want to let this build up and have a good pack of stuff. And I think that's about it. Yeah, it's ran out of steam. But if you get a big circle where you got plenty of room to run, I basically just follow the edge of that thing around and just blast everything. It will kill basically the screen. And I don't die very often. I do die. Like I do have my fair share of deaths. But as long as I can stay ahead of just destroying everything, this works great. Ooh. That is another Pillar of the Cage God. I wonder if it's any different than the one I've got before. But that also opens up the opportunity to try that on a different build, too. I don't have to swap out the one that I've got for the other build that I have. But anyway, I've been really digging this one. I've been running, let's see, I ran, Legions are amazing. When you hit those frozen soldiers in crystal or ice or whatever they're frozen into, you go fight those guys, they just get wrecked. You can unlock them fairly easily, and you pretty much unlock everything in the pack, almost. Just blasting the ground, it's very quick. Very, very well clearing. Breach is good. Incursion's good. Expedition's not bad. Expedition has a lot of thick monsters in it, and sometimes those take forever and you just don't survive in them. What else have I ran with this? I like Incursion. The problem with Incursion is you want to clear stuff extremely quickly. And the problem with this build is you can't clear as fast on the higher tier maps. So I found on, I think it's the Belfry map on like tier 6 or something like that, works great because Belfry's a giant circle. So you can just maneuver around, hit all the incursions as you go. And I don't know, I get a lot of drops. Plus with Breach and everything, was I running Breach with that? I don't remember what I was running with that. That was, oh, Incursion, strong boxes, and scarabs and stuff like that. This was really good because I could go around on the Belfry map. I could hit the essences up. I could hit all the Incursion stuff up. I could get strong boxes as they went through. It was just really good. For this one, I've been running Breach and Harvest, and I spent so much time on all the other builds, I wanted to come back and revisit this one. So I've been kind of popping back on this one and refining it a little bit here and there. I've gotten it up to level 96, and I have made a couple of changes since the last video that I put out. Let's start with the passive tree. So first and foremost, as controversial as this may sound, this Flames Advance, where you get additional strength and can convert damage types to fire damage, this actually on POB does give me a few thousand more DPS if I take it. The problem is I have to come out of Storm's Embrace, which lowers all your resistances, because this max fire res applies to cold and lightning as well, so that brings everything up to 83%, which otherwise they drop down considerably. So I tried this for a brief moment here earlier. It worked out great. I mean, I was doing a little bit more damage, but I was also a little bit squishier by not having this. As far as the ascendancies go, there's not really a dud in this bunch. It depends on what you're building with. I wanted to try this one here, the Sun's Light, for bossing. I tried doing a few different things for bossing. So this one, lower nearby enemy monsters fire resistance against damage over time is minus 20% while you're stationary. So this would actually bump up. It doesn't show up on the tooltip down here, but that actually affects your ignite and stuff like that. It shows up in POB. So like burning damage and all that, I think shows up in POB, but it doesn't show up on the tooltip as anything that you can see. So it makes it a little difficult to figure out whether it affects it or not. But this one here, I think would be good for like bossing and stuff, but I don't think I want to waste 10 points to pop out of this and then come back over into here. It's just, that's not going to happen. I did try this Flames Advance for a minute. War's Herald, Death's Fury, and Cleansing Water, in my opinion, are non-negotiable. I'm not going to change those out. I could see myself trying something different than War's Herald. Basically, as far as I understand it, Fist of War is the one that does count, because that goes for slam skills. Ancestral Call, I think, is strike skills, so it doesn't apply. The interesting thing, and I was watching a Captain Lance video, he was talking, I don't remember if he had a Juggernaut or a Berserker or a Chieftain. I don't remember exactly which one he had, but he was doing something interesting with War Cries in that he was auto-exerting some of them, but still leaving one to click on. I tried that for a minute and I didn't really care for it all that much, but it would be useful to put, I don't remember if he had a Chieftain or not, but it would be useful to put this on for the one you were going to click on, because it gives you infinite power and you get extra Warcry buff effect off of it. But I kind of like what I've got. I mean, I'm not going to change out Death's Fury. I wouldn't go this route. I like Death's Fury. And I like Cleansing Water, and Storm's Embrace just adds so much extra resistances, so it's a little bit more, or a little bit less damage taken, and then this War's Herald is really good too, so I don't think I would change those. I did swap over to this Flames Advance. I saw a little bit more DPS, but it wasn't worth the squishiness, so I ended up swapping back to that. I also tried, as stupid as this is going to sound, I tried Fire Trap. What I did, for the longest time, I had Leap Slam in the mace as a 5-link, and I was doing like extra effect or something like area of effect or something like that. I tried some different things with it, but basically I ended up moving that over to here and putting in all of my War Cries into this 5-link and dealing with that. So for the longest time, I didn't have enough mana to do 5-linked War Cries. I could do 4, but I didn't have enough to do 5. And something happened where I can do 5 now. So I've done something right somewhere along the line with reservation efficiency, and it's fixed that, so I can actually use 5 links in this. So I ended up moving the Leap Slam over to here, and then I tried something with Fire Trap. Actually, I don't remember where I moved the Leap Slam. I think I might have moved it over where War Banner is, and I don't know. I moved it around. Let's just say that. In fact, I think that's what I did. I moved Leap Slam into here, and I've moved some things around. But I did try Fire Trap, and I know that sounds stupid, but I tried Fire Trap because I thought, well, we use that with Righteous Fire. The big flaw in that plan, it's a fire skill for sure, and it does a lot of damage with fire scaling and everything. However, it's a spell, and spells don't apply. I even tried Iron Will support gem. It didn't even help. So nothing really helped that one out. I was trying to do anything with single target damage, and basically what I came down to is pretty much the setup we see here. So I'll just run through the gems real quick. We've got Automation with Blood Rage, More Duration, and Molten Shell. More Duration affects both of those, so that makes them last longer, which is good. I don't have Flammability in a gem because I've got it cursed with enemies with Flammability on hit in this ring. This ring could certainly be better, and I may go fishing around and delve for a different ring at some point, but this is the one that I've got. It's also got 5% of damage taken recouped his life, damage leached his life, big fire res, so it's like it's a really good ring that would be hard to replace in this build. Down here on the boots, we've got Leap Slam, added fire, life tap, and faster attacks. If I had to deal with vulnerability or flammability on here, I would swap added fire damage here and put that flammability gem in there. So I've got that set up. We've got haste over here by itself, war banner with increased area of effect and life tap, and that just makes the war banner that much bigger. I figured out that war banner goes away when you step outside of the circle. It took me a while to catch on to that, but I noticed it and I'm like, all right, cool. I'll make the circle bigger and then I don't have to worry about as much. I still get out of it, but it's not terrible. Over here, we've got Awakened Fire Pen support. I know that doesn't do anything. The only reason it's there is to level up. So it's an extra socket and I can't do anything else with it. So that's what's in there. For auto exertion, we've got Rallying Cry, which is a new addition, Intimidating Cry, Seismic Cry, and Infernal Cry. I found out the hard way that the one that I was using, actually it should be easier to find over here. I made a serious mistake, and you always want to go and check the POB. The fact that I'm creating the POB means that I need to read my own stuff over and over and over again. I missed that Ancestral Cry exerts strikes. Exerted strikes target 2 additional enemies. This Tectonic Slam is a slam, not a strike, and it took me until I started recording this video a little bit ago to realize that Ancestral Cry is useless in this build, as well as Enduring Cry. So Enduring Cry would be one that you would want to use manually. You would want to call this one manually because this counts total power of enemies in range, grants 1 endurance charge per 5 power to you and allied players, buff grants life and all that. But if I was to go into Sun's Roar, I would run Enduring Cry as a manual cast. Otherwise, it doesn't. I don't know. I didn't like it. It didn't work. And now that I'm looking at it, I see why auto exertion didn't work, because it's not made to work with auto exertion. I mean, I think it runs with it, but I don't think it works. So with Rallying Cry, we get exerted attacks deal 5% more damage per affected ally. With Intimidating Cry, we exerted attacks deal double damage. With Seismic Cry, exerted attacks have 50% more area of effect, which I really like. Infernal Cry puts Combust and stuff like that on there. So if I was to 6-link this, I mean, I could 6-link this and I could maybe put some support gem for all these on here, but that's going to bump up my mana requirements. So I've just not bothered to 6-link that and deal with it. I don't have the mana for it. I can level this thing up. I could also swap something else. Like, say I take this added fire damage. I could also put Enduring Cry in there if I wanted and keep up the endurance charges, which, if I was to modify this build in any way, shape, or form, I do have somewhere in here Tectonic Slam of Cataclysm. And this one actually gobbles up endurance charges. So I would, if I was to swap over to this, I would probably put Enduring Cry in there and use that manually, call that, and then swap over the War Cry effect. I don't know what I would take off, though. I don't want to take that off because it'd make me more squishy, but this would add damage and stuff to it. I would probably take that off or this and try that. I'm not sure. They need to give us more points because I want more of this to be taken up. Let's see. What other points do we need to look at on here? POB says putting 1 node right here for gaining rage gets you a few thousand DPS. So I had a node up here with Ancestral Knowledge that I didn't need. I ended up taking that out and moving it over to here. And I don't think there was any other major changes. I think at one point, I don't remember where I added this in the grand scheme of things, but I added this 40% increased damage with hits against rare and unique enemies. So that that might be different since one of the last videos that I did. I also swapped over here, so we've got increased fire damage instead of 30% chance to ignite. We've got an extra 32% increased fire damage. I think that about rounds it out. That's about it. I will definitely link the POB for this if you're curious to look at it, or if you have any feedback for what could be improved, where I could go with things. I did not come all the way over here to Heart of Flame and Breath of Flames. Those I've seen. I think Pox's Righteous Fire Guide comes over here. I was initially planning on getting over there, and then I found these nodes here, Divine Judgment and Divine Fury. So I didn't really see anywhere to go. If I was to further level this up to 97 and 98, I would put those points here to take this stamina and get another endurance charge. Other than that, that's kind of about it. I did consider I could go to level 97 and then pull this point. This gives me an extra 3% increased damage per endurance frenzy or power charge. I could try to gain one more level and rob that point over here to get an extra endurance charge there that way. But there's not really much fluff on here to take out. There's not really much that I would change because we've got endurance charges here, a jewel socket. It's like right there. I would gain more off of that than I would the endurance charge here. So, I keep looking at like combat stamina and tireless and stuff like that. I maybe don't need the reduction in cost for the skills because I'm life tapping a bunch of stuff, but the extra life that comes off of that's really big. This has got increased armor, max life, and life regen. This one's got extra fire damage over time multiplier with regen life. Plus, I get this big regen life for our uncapped fire res. There's just not much that I would change. I get +2 to all max Ellie res here. We get another +2 over here. So that's why I have 83% in there. And then when I kick off the Ruby Flask, we've got 88%. So it's like there's not a lot of meat to cut off this bone. This one here, Two-Handed Mastery's got 40% increased damage with hits against rare and uniques. I don't want to lose that. The Fortify part, I could probably take that out, but this Fortify actually makes a big difference in survivability. 10% increased max life. I mean, that's 16% max life. I could maybe do something else with somewhere, but I feel like my life is already fairly starved here anyway. Hits that stun enemies have Culling Strike. I could probably pull that out, but I think that helps, with the explosions and everything that go off. I think that once you get that into the culling range, I think that's helping out some, so I don't necessarily want to pull that off. Mana reservation efficiency, I don't want to take out. Reduced damage from critical strikes, I could probably take that out, but that's like, I don't know, something I don't necessarily want to do. POB says, and I think somebody else on the past video said 40% increase, 40% physical damage converted to fire is pretty big. The thing that I'm kind of shocked at is Avatar of Fire. 50% of physical cold and lightning damage converted to fire damage. Deal no non-fire damage. You would think this would impact it, but according to POB, and I know I don't have cold and lightning damage, but 50% of physical damage, maybe it's because I'm converting damage in some other place, Avatar of Fire does nothing. I did think about putting this on here just because it says deal no non-fire damage, which means I could deal with, I think that means I could run maps with Fizz Reflect, but not Ellie Reflect, I think. I'm not sure on that. So I was kind of thinking about it from that standpoint, but I don't know. The only other thing I could do to make this build, as far as anything that I see that I can do with the knowledge that I have at the moment, the best things I could do is work on my jewel sockets. I've tried a few of those, but one thing that really helps out, there's like a 16% increase. I can't remember. It's a decent increase, and I had it on one of my jewels, and I spun off of it. I shouldn't have spun off of it, but increased attack speed with maces. I think it's like 16%. It rivaled one of the best jewels that I have with just that as the modifier itself. It was putting a lot of damage out. So I need to, and like this has got 5% increased attack speed with two-handed melee weapon. It could be a little bit better, like 6%, but that other one was way better, like significantly better. So if I could roll one of those, I'd probably switch that out. And some of this stuff like critical strike multiplier doesn't apply because I've got resolute technique, but it's on here and I can't get rid of it. This is 6% increased attack speed with Mace's Receptors. I swear that could get a lot better. I don't know what tier that is, but at any rate, I don't know if I can tell on this or not. That's tier 1, so maybe that... No, it's two-handed. Maybe it was 8%. I thought it was a lot more. But yeah, increased attack speed with maces or scepters is really good because it goes better than what increased attack speed with two-handed weapons can go. So you get a lot more out of it. So this is only 8% with, or this is 6%, could be 6% with two-handed weapons, but it's 8% with maces or scepters. So you actually want to try to roll that as much as possible. But other than that, there's not really many changes that I would do. Maybe roll all armor because I'm running armor and evasion. I might consider rolling all armor. As far as my implicits on here, we've got damage penetrates 4% fire res. We've got 8% fire damage taken recouped as life. I thought that might help out with the X-Arc fight. I don't know that it makes much of a difference. Increased life recovery here. We've got damage taken recouped as life there. Exerted attacks increased, deal increased damage, increased attack speed. Attacks exerted by seismic cry deal 25% increased damage. So there's a lot of increased damage on here. Not so much defensive layers, +1 to max fire res, but I don't know. That's kind of where the build's landed. This is basically the end of the run for this build. I don't foresee, I might make some minor changes here and there, but at this point, I think I'm happy with all the cries and the auto exertion that I've got. It's a very slim amount of mana, but it's just enough to let these things all cast. And they actually do all cast. If you go into a map, I was looking at this, they all go off. They don't necessarily go off instantly, but as soon as they're ready to go, they start going back off again. And I don't know if they're just staggered out just enough or what, but they all seem to go off and I can still use them, and they all tick down as I use them. So, yeah. I guess if I was to change on the passive tree, I might change something on the war cry effects. I don't know. I don't remember where those are. There's some in here that give you war cry effects. Retaliation skills, now that I'm looking at that, I tried a bunch of different retaliation skills. I didn't like any of them. For this build, they just didn't work that well. Number one, you don't block, so none of that. There was one where you take a savage hit, but if you get your defensive layers up, you don't take savage hits anymore. So they just all kind of became worthless. They were all right in the campaign. I kind of wished we had some of the options that they took out where, like riposte and stuff like that, where it would just automatically hit something back. I like those. I see what they're doing with the retaliation skills, but I kind of wish they had the other stuff that just kind of automatically did something. Although now that I've got this built up, I don't know what I would change. Like War Banner, if I was going to do something different, I would move Leap Slam over to here so that War Banner and Leap Slam were life tapped together, and then free up my boots to do something with, like a retaliation skill or something like that. But I just didn't like any of the retaliation skills. They're two-handed weapon, or they're axes, they're dual wield, they're nothing that was anything useful that I liked anyway. So this one is the Crushing Fist. I actually do like, but you have to block it, so it means you have to invest in block. Eviscerate's kind of cool, but it fires off in a V, and I just don't like it. And you have to have a sword and axe, or sword, axe, and shield. This one's dual wield, so that's out. This one's I think I tried this at some point. I didn't like it. Vengeful Cry. But this one you have to call manually because it's got the buff stuff on here, and then that's kind of it. So the retaliation skills are just kind of meh. Oh, Glacial Swipe. This was actually kind of cool. I dug this one, but you have to have a shield. So it just totally kicked all those out. But otherwise, this is basically the final form of this build. Now I'm going to keep playing it. I don't think I'm going to make any more changes. I think I've tried everything on here that I want. If I didn't mention it, I think I did. Video's gone on for a while, so I think I mentioned it, but I did try Fire Trap. It sounds stupid because that is a spell, which I figured that out after the fact, but I tried like Iron Will support on here. It just didn't make enough of a difference. I tried something else. There was some other... There's not many fire skills. Like I tried 2 different slams on here, thinking maybe I could alternate. There's a Consecrated Path. I tried that for a minute. That didn't work. The idea was to go from Consecrated Path to Tectonic Slam and kind of alternate back and forth. And Consecrated Path went really fast, like it kept slamming faster and faster, but the damage just wasn't there. It was almost half the damage this Tectonic Slam is. So it just, I've tried a bunch of different things, and that's kind of where I've got it out. Maybe a different belt. An abyssal belt or something, but this has got big chaos res on it that I don't want to lose. There's where my lightning res comes from. I could probably change that to fire res, add a little bit more to it. But other than that, that is what I've got. So that's pretty much where my Tectonic Slam build landed. I've got the Eater down. I do not have the X-Arc down just yet. I've done a little bit of bossing with it. I ended up fighting Drox earlier, yesterday I think it was. He just would not die. I couldn't do any damage against him. Like there was a phase, I don't know that fight, or I've phased past it with Bone Shatter or something like that. So this build is probably about 90 or 95% as good as Bone Shatter. It's definitely not as good as Bone Shatter. It's slightly worse if I had to rate it, but it's got amazing clear on it. So for getting mapping done and stuff like that, it's really good. Once you can get it to where it kills the bosses, it's even better. Where I would scale this up, I don't know. There's probably some options here. Definitely if I could get more Awaken gems, like if I could get, I don't know if there's I think there's an Awaken Ellie damage. I don't know if there's I know there's an Awaken added fire. I don't know if there's a pulverized version, but I've not been able to make another mace that can replace it. This is like the best mace I've got, so I don't know what this build looks like. It's probably worse from here and not using the gear that I've got. So I don't know. What would an all armor version be like? I'm not sure. I don't know that I want to mess around with it too much more. I don't know. So anyway, that's basically where this has landed. I think this will pretty much carry me through the rest of the league. So I'll be playing this off and on as I work on my other builds or what other games I'm playing. I'll pop back onto this and run this a little bit. It's done everything I wanted to accomplish this league. It's actually defeated the Eater, which I wasn't sure if I would get any Void Stones. I've at least got one. It's definitely got its limitations. I will be league starting this next league for the most part. I'm pretty sure this is the one I'm going to league start. I've not found any other builds that I like so far, but I could use like Volcanic Fissure. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but I did try Volcanic Fissure and Infernal Blow in this. They both do less DPS, but with this, basically all I did was take this gem out and put the other ones in, and they worked very well because they all scale off fire. Now I would probably do something different with Volcanic Fissure. In fact, that was the build that was there before this one, so you'd probably want to do something with projectiles and stuff like that. But as it stands, this passive tree was a good template for both of those, and they would both work fairly well. I probably would want to do something different to make them better. I don't know. I'd probably have to POB warrior this out for a little while and mull it over and think about it. But anyway, this video has gone on very long. That is where this build is at the moment. That is basically the final form for this build. I don't foresee making drastic changes. The biggest thing that I had was just trying to get what to do with this 5-link, and now that I've got everything settled in, I'm pretty happy with it. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.